Welcome back to my channel, everyone. Today we're going to focus on drawing a lavender pot. For this, what you'll need is some paper, ideally 300 GSM or above, a pencil and some gouache paints. And we are going to start off by drawing the pot itself. So all you need to do is create parallel lines that are going inwards at the bottom, and that will create the main body of your pot. And then just draw a circle, well, half a circle below it, and then we are just going to create the tray that your pot is going to sit in. And then in the middle bit, we're just going to create a little semicircle that just goes outwards a little bit more, and then bring your pot outwards again at the top, and then create another semicircle at the top, and then a semicircle on top of that to complete the circle. So that's the basis of our pot complete. And then what we're going to do is start by painting this pot. So for this, what you'll need is some black paint and some white paint, and then we're just going to mix that together to create a shade of grey. As you can see, it's quite a bit dark grey, so take a little bit into another side and then add in a bit more water and a little bit of white to create a lighter grey, and then do the same thing again, add a bit more white to create quite a pale grey, and that's the grey that we're going to use to paint the majority of this pot. So the reason we're using 300 GSM or above paper is because it will prevent the paint to bleed through the paper, essentially, and it will prevent curling up of the paper as well. But the mask that we've used to tape it down will also help with that. So paint with that pale grey wherever I've painted, and use the middle tone of grey to paint the shadows. And we're going to use that same shade again to paint the line of where the pot meets the tray. And then we're going to use that middle tone again to paint in the lines surrounding the middle bit of the pot. And then we're going to use the darker shade of grey to create a little semicircle on the top part of the pot and create the bottom half of the circle. Now what we're going to do is mix in some paints for the leaves of the lavender. So we're going to be using sap green and viridium to create the greens. So mix those two together, and I add in a little bit of cadmium yellow paint as well. So add in more water if it's looking a little bit dry, and that's the beauty about gouache. You can kind of work with it like you would with watercolour. So I'm going to add a little bit of yellow ochre just to create a bit more of an olive green tinge to the paint. So take a little bit, and I like to add in a little bit more yellow to create a lighter green. And you can add as much water to this as you want. And that's the beauty about gouache paint, is that you can work with it as if you were working with acrylic or watercolours. So we're going to use the first shade of green to paint the entirety of that pot, or the top layer of the pot. And then we're going to use an angled brush and use the second bit of the paint that we created to create the leaves. And the reason we use angled brush, as you can see, is because it creates this, the appearance of grass. And angled brushes are really good at giving that illusion, because it goes in at the top without you needing to focus too much on it. We're going to use the first shade that we created to create some more leaves as well. Now you can leave that as it is, or we can carry on and continue with creating the lavenders. So I added in a little bit of black to that first shade of green, just because we're going to add that in once this green dries off. Now we're going to create purple, and to create purple what you'll need is some blue and red. So we're going to mix those two colours together to create our purple. And then take a little bit and add in a little bit of white to create a light purple or a lavender colour. And then take a little bit out and I add in a little bit of red just to create a bit of a pink tone as well. And now you've got your three shades that you're going to use to paint your lavender. So we're just going to wait for it to dry, and then what we're going to do is create the dark shade of green that we created by adding in the black, just to add in some different colours of green into that pot. And then we can go back in and add in some more leaves using the other shade of green as well. Now what we're going to do just before going into the lavender is use your finger just to create the, dip in your finger into the dark shade of grey that you made at the start, and just put it on top of the pot and use some tissue paper to dab on it, and this will create a bit more of a vintage feel to the pot and give it a bit more of a appearance of a steel pot. Now we're going to create some really, really pale grey to add in some highlights. And we're just going to, I'm just going to add in a little bit more white just because it's not as light as I would like it to be. And just create a line underneath the shadows that we've created. And then we're going to use that same shade of paint to colour in the middle part of the pot as well. Now what we're going to do is use the purples that we've created to start making the lavender. So we're going to start off with the pinker version of the lavender that we created, and just literally use your paintbrush to dab alongside each side of the leaves that you can see a bit more distinctly at the top. It's a good idea to try and angle your brush facing upwards so you can create that illusion of it coming in towards the leaf. So we're going to work our way across all the leaves that we can see on the pot using that same shade of pink that we made. And you can add in some extra bits in the middle of the leaves as well. Then we're going to use the second shade of lavender that we created to add in a different colour to the lavenders that we've already created. I'm just adding in some extra leaves as well to create a bit more of a droopy feel. Now what we're going to use is the really dark shade that we've created to add in a bit more of a shadow to the lavenders that we've just painted on. And this gives a really good illusion of the lavender having a bit more depth. And that's our lavender pot done. I'm just adding in a little bit of a background, and you don't have to do this, so you can just create your lavender pot. So I'm not going to talk through what I'm doing now. This is just for my own benefit really, but obviously you guys can do the exact same thing as well. So if you do decide to recreate this, please feel free to share this on your Instagram, Facebook, or whatever, and tag me in it because I'd love to see what you create and your versions of it as well. You don't have to use paint for this, or if you do use paint, you don't have to use gouache. You can use watercolour, you can use acrylic, or colouring pencils. So, but I would like to see all your recreations, so do tag me in it. And I hope you really liked this video. As always, do comment below with more suggestions, and like and subscribe so you can get notified of when I post videos again. So I'm basically creating a background where the lavender pot is just sitting on the floor. So thank you so much for watching this video again. I hope I can see you in the next one.